Вот падла, падла, вот падла, паскуда мразота, урод.
What? I've watched that clip 70 times. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games, with a heavy focus on the first-person shooter Escape from Tarkov. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jessekazam, a Tarkov YouTuber, streamer, and general content creator.
And I'm Veritas, trying extremely hard not to laugh, because I swear to you, even though I'm looking down, not at my camera, and I'm looking at your face on the OBS preview window, and I still somehow know that you're looking at my face.
100%. I'm trying not to, because I know you're about to break. And then I was trying not to look at your face, but then also come up with something clever really quickly, but I couldn't do all those things at once.
Listen, everything you say to me gets me one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break. I'm asking for a little bit of room to breathe, because I'm one step closer
to the edge. Okay.
Well, I'm the proud new owner of some Tarkov Art.
Yeah? Wait, what art?
So,
is it that stuff like Clean tweeted?
I don't know if you tweeted it or not. Somebody tweeted at Clean.
Yes.
The man's name is Rustenico. Rustenico. Maybe it's like Rustenico. No, okay. I'm not sure. But he responded to Clean's tweet.
Yeah.
About my video. And he's like, "Yo, check out my my like acrylic paintings.
They were sick."
Yeah, fucking unreal. He's got like the church and shoreline and like the dorms, like reception area, and the factory
office.
So I bought the factory office one. So I was like, well, I'm gonna buy all of them. I generally think artists are almost always underpaid for the work that they do. So it's usually like absurdly underpaid.
Yeah.
Like he does prints, but I bought the original. I wanted to get more, but it was, I don't want to say expensive, because it's worth the money I paid for it. Absolutely. Just I couldn't buy all of them.
Yeah, dude,
didn't have a grand to spend on artwork.
They were really sick. They were really, really dope. Yeah, I saw somebody sent me the tweet and was just DM'd me and was like, "Yo, this is sick," and I was like, "Yo, that is actually super dope."
Yeah, so I'm excited. I bought the factory office one. Just put the link in chat there.
That's great.
Yeah, it was between that and the customs dorms one.
Yeah.
Only because I'm working on, it was originally going to be album art for the Sights and Sounds of Tarkov. What I did was, I can't draw, but I can do a little bit of digital photo editing.
You can go ham in
Microsoft Paint. Draw over it, and then composite together. So what I ended up doing was getting one of the scabs, is one of the dead scabs with like the pole through his chest.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting with like one leg bent and one leg straight, and he just looks like he's chilling, right? And then there's the strat that's leaning up against the drum set on Shoreline.
Yeah.
So I took a screenshot of that, and I fucking cropped it out and moved it. So basically I have, if you're standing in the doorway of the front office room looking out the window, there's the couch on the left side. So I basically have it so that actually no, the couch is on the right side, but I switched it. So the couch is on the left side.
Okay.
You can see the outside, and the scab is just chilling there, lounging in the couch, like his back up against the wall with a strat in his hand, with like a cigarette in his mouth.
That's kind of dope.
But I literally spent like 8 hours on it.
On the album artwork?
And it wasn't even done, and I'm like, I should probably like make the video and finish the album and everything. So I ended up coming up with a different thing, but I want to finish that.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
Yep. Well, Tarkov Town. Oh, before we get into that, I wanted to see if you There was a ton of people, a lot of like good YouTube comments and a lot of people coming in and saying that this last podcast, when we just like, we were talking, it was so funny because we like basically had nothing to talk about when we started. We were like, what are we going to talk about today? And we ended up like out of breath, just like going ham. And a bunch of people came in and was just like, that's incredible. And I think it was less in my chat, at least it stirred a lot of like conversation about like maybe that isn't a good idea or this is a good idea. But like the overwhelming consensus was a lot of people were like, I hadn't, basically like you were saying, but I hadn't considered that far of like what Tarkov could be. When you were like, I played DayZ, but I'd never considered that like what those implications could be for Tarkov. A ton of people like that, and it just got a ton of people jazzed about like the potential, and very much confirmed exactly what we were saying, where it's like there's just not a whole like the whole, at least my whole community basically was like, yeah, we just have no idea what direction we're going, and that sounded pretty dope. So I didn't know if you got a similar response, but people were like vibing.
It was one of those things, like, it was a good podcast. I think I had to, was last week the one I had to like get out of really quickly? No, that was the one before that.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that I got so many people that came in all at once that I'm like, Jesse must have just posted the video because it was just like randomly a lot of people were coming in and with really awesome feedback. So I was like, hell yeah. And then I actually ended up talking to Clean a little bit today too about that. Because he messaged me and we were talking about a bunch of stuff, including the video that I made that we can talk about later.
Yeah.
Because I was interested to know what his thoughts were. On the idea of like DayZ server wiping every 3 or 4 hours kind of thing and restarting, and if that sort of paradigm could work with Tarkov. And he was totally could work, all this stuff, and I was like, oh shit, so because I honestly, whenever Clean talks about open world, it's almost as if he knows something that we don't, like I'm sure he's had conversations with Nikita and stuff a lot more than a lot of us, and probably has a lot of context, but he's always like, oh yeah, but it's going to be open world and this and that. I'm like, wait, you say that so confidently, like,
do you know something we
said
don't?
They weren't going to do that. But yeah, so he, like, I wanted to gauge his reaction because it was very possible that he was going to say, oh yeah, dude, that ain't going to happen. Like, that's not how they're planning on doing it. But he was like, yeah, dude, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then we just went back and forth. He's like, dude, I could talk about this for hours. So honestly, we should probably have Clean back on again and chat with him one of these days.
I would love that. I'd love to almost just like vision cast and theory craft with him on like on that, because I love hopping in his chat and just like listening to him talk about like a lot of the same stuff that I enjoy about the game and stuff like that. So that would be dope. But that's cool. It's cool to hear, because it was just, of course, like, we made it super clear that we were basically just making that up as we go, and we don't hold any sort of like actual thoughts that like we're gonna write how Escape from Tarkov is gonna be. But it was just fun to think about how it could be, fun to actually like think about how open world could be. And then on the back end, I was just excited that people were excited about some of those ideas and about what the future could look like. So I just thought that was kind of dope.
Yeah, it felt, man, like the Tarkov community, when I was first starting out on Twitch, it felt like a community of content creators, much closer to the viewers. Like, we were all one family. And then there became a point where, and I'm sure it was like a change in the community, a change in me, a change in, it just everybody growing with the game and all this stuff, where it recently didn't feel so much like a community. Other than like I had a few friends, like yourself and a couple other people that are like, you're my friends, but it didn't feel as community like. And I will say that the last like 72 hours has made me feel the community again. For the first time in a long time, from that discussion, from talking to a bunch of people, from the feedback that I got on my video, from the community, from other content creators, from Nikita, like all this stuff. It was just, so I'm stoked. And I feel like a lot of us we're all coming closer to having similar language and being on the same page. And like, I obviously I'm not going to take credit for any of that, but I will say that like that's a lot of what I think you and I have been, or like that's kind of our goal.
Yeah.
Is so that like everybody, we can all get on the same fucking page and all know what we're talking about when we're talking about certain features and when we're talking about realistic expectations and when we're talking about what to expect from developers. And yeah.
Exactly. Cause and I think, that's cool that you felt that way over the past few days. And I'm definitely excited to dive into your video. And I'm sure that that was a huge part of that. But yeah, a small slice of that is exactly like when we, as a community of people that are very passionate about this game, can have something of any sort of substance to hold on to. Like, oh, this is what they want to do. This is how they want to do it. It's going to change. Maybe it'll get delayed. Maybe things will shift. But when we have something to hold on to, you know what I mean? We come together more because like, if that's not your deal, you kind of move on to another game that maybe is your deal. And if it is, then it's something that we can all rally behind. And so I think that's part of it. And part of why exactly what we did the podcast was about, which is like that they can rally their community for benefit if they have some of that vision. So yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest, and if you want, do you want to transition into the video?
We did. We
segue before, and then we can talk about 12.8 after.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Yeah. So, for anybody that hasn't caught the video, it was originally going to be one video that was going to be like an hour long, and I had a whole script written out where, well, it's funny. The whole thing evolved. It all started the day that we played duos together.
Really?
Because that was, after 4 months of shit net code, or the game feeling bad, me being frustrated, not being able to pinpoint anything, and then when we played together, was a couple days after me and Scav played together, and then I played with Geeks, and that was the first time that like I had been really duoing more than once or twice. Yeah. So I was able to see so much of the just obvious desync in movement between all of us that had like 30, 40, 50 ping.
Yeah.
And that made me think like there's something going on here. Mm-hmm. So what I was going to do was basically make a video that was all about how the netcode is fucked. Basically, to try to like plead my case. Because like it really wasn't, it's a lot more prevalent now. But like, I don't know, I just feel like 2 or 3 weeks ago, there wasn't a whole lot of people talking about netcode and desync the way that they are now. And correct me if I'm wrong, because like I could be totally jaded and it's easy to misremember. But I mean, everybody's always talking about desync and netcode and stuff. But I feel like I've been particularly loud and bitchy about how I feel like something is seriously wrong because I kind of hit wit's end. Yeah. After 3 or 4 months of being like, okay, I don't think I'm in a rut anymore. Like, I think that there's something else at play. But then now I see a lot of people and a lot of other content creators that are all like speaking up about it. And yeah, I guess part of that is a little bit of like projecting on my part, because there were, you looked at a lot of the other bigger Tarkov content creators, a lot of them were playing other games recently. Yeah. And it was one of those things like I don't know if they knew why, or if they were just like, the game doesn't feel great right now, I'm sick of it, let me play something else. Yeah.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think it was, I don't know if overshadowed is the right word, but like it was mixed in with other things, because way back,
cheaters and RMT,
but like even just the rats and chads thing, like, you know what I mean? That is a huge, like, I haven't been playing the game since like 0.78 when as far as I've heard, the desync was like at its worst, and it was, basically an unplayable game. But even, I've been a part of the game long enough I've seen it pretty bad. But because the explosion in popularity, because the explosion in some of these camps that have formed, the rats and the chad, I think a lot of time the desync was overshadowed by frustration of like, dude, how long have you just been camping that corner? Or how long have you been this? Or how am I supposed to do this? And so I think it was maybe there, but like you were saying, maybe less of a conscious thing where people were just like, the game just feels like garbage. I'm going to go play something else. And if you asked them, they probably would have said it's the rats, it's the campers, and it's the desync, but it's all kind of like a jumbled thing. I really think that plays a part in it because there's a difference in your reaction when you're walking around labs and you come into a desync encounter up against a guy with a 5.7 that was holding an angle. That's a different level of frustration than when you're like in a really cool, engaging fight and you're both moving, and then you peek a corner and you die to obvious desync. You're going to complain, but it's a different feeling than being, GL'd in labs or something like that and desync. Yeah. So I think that kind of mixed it up and made it less of a buzzword recently, which I think is kind of what you were saying.
And I think it's really hard to look at something in lots of cases, unless you can look back and clip it and watch in slow motion, which I think is still not super, super, super common amongst, if you look at all the content creators, people from 3,000 viewers all the way down to 3 viewers, it's probably a pretty small, maybe single-digit percentage of people that will pull up a clip and actually honestly, take a look.
Yeah.
So, and this, we brought this up when we talked to Markstrom a few weeks back as well, because he was like, I don't even bother doing it anymore. Just like get nothing out
depressing.
of it. But yeah, so after that the whole day that we streamed, I was gathering up a whole bunch of clips and I was starting to write up a script. I was trying to get a hold of Battle Nonsense and everything. And in writing out that script, I ended up basically saying, okay, well, if I'm going to talk about netcode, there's also kind of other important issues that I feel like need to be talked about, like some of the other bugs and user experience things. Yeah. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to talk about some of the bugs and user experience things, like the preset system and how I, want to fucking redo that, then it was like, well, then I might as well talk about other game design stuff, like retouch on some of the quests and. But then that gets complicated because we've talked about, I've done videos about that before, and there's been drama around like what people are saying and when, all this bullshit. So I'm like, then I should probably talk about, like a little bit of the meta discussion around content creators, why they make some of the videos that they do, and how we interface with the developers, and give the perspective from like a content creator, a viewer, and a software engineer to try and get everybody on the same page there. To be like, we should, be upset about this we shouldn't be upset about, and this we should, we shouldn't be upset about, but we should try to argue, that something needs to be changed. So I ended up with this big, long script, and then eventually I ended up being like, well, fuck, now there's like 27 categories. Let me try and distill it all down, wrote the script. And then I ended up with the idea of like, everything I have here, it's all like different ways of getting Tarkoved. Dude, that was like my way. That was my way of like trying to put an umbrella theme around everything.
Yeah. You realize that you've said that about all the things you're staring at. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all the different ways you get Tarkoved, right? Like, how many times do I come across some dude who's just camping next to the extract and he dies, and it's like half of chat will say, well, not half, but there's like 20 different teams. There's, I fucked up. You need to check your corners.
Yeah, get good.
Even though the dude was in a bush and I can't see anything, and I'm limping and whatever, and I'm out of stamina. So then there's like, the game design is bad because you couldn't do anything, nothing you could do there. Wow, he's such a pansy, just sitting there forever.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a rat being scared. Oh, he's an extract camper. Oh, the dude is a standard account. He's probably cheating. Like all these different things. Nikita needs to fix this, and the spawns and the extracts are so fucked. And it's like every one of these things, everything that happens is there's like 20 different explanations that people have.
Yeah.
And really, one of them might be right. So what I kind of want to do is figure out how, like, talk about them all and categorize them all in different things. Whereas this is a play style, and why we should appreciate different play styles, and why certain things like cheating and glitching, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But, like the whole Chads and the rats thing, it's how that's all stupid. We talked a little bit about that last week.
Yep.
So yeah, I ended up putting the whole umbrella thing around this is going to be about getting Tarkov. And then I spent like 7 or 8 hours yesterday writing underneath the first bullet point, which was the game should be fun, and
Dude.
it just started growing and growing and growing to where I'm like, I recorded the voiceover and it was 20 something minutes long. I'm like, I have 22 other bullet points.
This
I'm like,
can't be a 6-hour video.
So it kind of feels weird, like in hindsight. If you watch the video again, you can probably see that like I had this whole big long thing. And I'm like, so that's an introduction, you know?
Oh yeah. Dude, I was like, wait, it's over. I want more.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I've got like 40 pages written so far about all kinds of different shit. I'm going to be talking about the next video. It's going to be one or two topics. It's going to be netcode and stuff around when you get screwed over by things that you have trained yourself to expect, which is kind of an interesting thing. So part of the reason why the netcode is so annoying for me personally is that when someone steps out, I have trained over 3 years to know exactly how the sidestep speed is.
Yeah.
So when I flick, it's muscle memory based on how people move. So when they sidestep and they teleport and then pop back and then pop back again, it's like if you watch it in slow motion, you see I'm perfectly like, sometimes it's like one of those Shroud conspiracy theory videos where like you see my crosshairs like glued to the guy's head and it's perfect, and then he goes whoop, and he moves, and it's like it looked like an aimbot, but the aimbot would have reacted to the desync, whereas my brain doesn't. So it's about netcode and about all of the things that you're trained to know. Like if I don't hear anything, I am safe to some extent, and that's why the stair glitch, the audio is so fucked. Yes, that's why the grenade thing is so fucked. When you see bots, and the bots sometimes they look at you and they give you back in the day they used to look at you, give you the middle finger, turn around, walk away, turn around, and then fire one or two missing shots at you. Now they'll be 100 meters away, and in one motion they will 360 throw a grenade, go prone, and drop shot. And it's like, and you'll kill like 5 of them, and then there'll be no sound whatsoever. And you'll go to walk up to loot one, and right next to the building is just a scav that hasn't reacted to anything. He's not reacting to his 12 friends that just got murdered in front of him, and he's like, oh wow, bang, and he insta kills you. And it's like, I expect that if I murder a group of people, that someone is going to be, because he wasn't hiding, he wasn't being tactical, it just, his fucking state machine was broken, and it was like, there's no threat here, so it's like you just don't expect the bots to be there. But that experience that you have that's trained you to have a game sense about when you're safe and when you're not, it fucks you. And that's another thing about getting Tarkov, is more about the expectations. So that's going to be the next one. And then I think the third one I'm planning on doing is RNG in like skill-based games, how randomness and skill versus luck. There's a lot of really interesting things I get into there, talking about things like poker, and then how, interestingly enough, this should have been like a thesis for college, but interestingly enough, basketball is like objectively more skill-based than hockey, for example.
Interesting.
And you can like prove it with math.
That's
and
wild.
like football is like more skill based than hockey, but then soccer is slightly more skill based
than football.
And it all comes down to, if you think about like every element of a game, the more elements you have, the more potential there is for like chaos and randomness. So just by definition, having like more people on a team makes it so that it's like increasing the time to kill. It smooths it out so that if you have 11 people and 11 people, and you have like, for soccer, for example, that's not as significant as like football. Whereas like the quarterback has a disproportionate amount of control and power and over the game, which is why like the Patriots, have done so well historically, because you can pretty much point to Belichick and Bledsoe. I just said fucking Bledsoe.
You could have committed to that, and I would have had no idea.
Not Drew Bledsoe. My God. Tom Brady and Belichick, and basically how like how much of an impact like 1 or 2 players and a coach makes compared to other games where, like basketball, they make a million shots in, think about how many shots there are on goal in hockey versus how many shots there are on goal you're talking about hundreds and hundreds in basketball.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game. If you're 5% better than somebody, that 5% is meaningful over the course of 2,000 fucking shots.
Yeah.
And the number of games that they play and how much time they're on field. Like in hockey, you really have people out for shorter amounts of time on the ice because it's a lot more fast and intense. So even if you have like stars, like Gretzky or whoever else, they're only able to have an influence over parts. I don't know. So it's just, there's so many interesting things about RNG in games, and there's different elements that are good, different elements that are bad. So the whole point of all this stuff at the end of the day, because I just ranted forever, is that like there's so much about all these different aspects of game design, software development, and community, content creator, developer relations that I feel like if everybody will respond to all these videos that I want to do, trying to get everybody on the same page so that we're all like realistic and fair and honest about, what things are our fault, what things are the developer's fault, what things are the designer's fault. And what things are just the fault of chance and it's nobody's fault. It's just part of, playing a game. Then I think, I don't know. I feel like the community could be so much better state than where we are now.
Dude, I'm super excited. As a side note, I am super excited for the RNG one, because we were actually just talking about that last night, about how, like, I don't know how we got there. Somebody was saying something and I was like, dude, if you don't like RNG, Tarkov's not the game for you. This is like RNG Simulator, the game. Like he wouldn't have built in like all the different like armor and ammos and scavs and loot, and like that was like and it's only gonna get worse with like now. I think people were talking about heavy bleeds and all this stuff, and they were like, somebody was saying that they felt like it made it more, and I was like, and it's just gonna get more and more and more. So I'm interested to see that. But I was the first video you did, the whole what is fun, basically, Tarkov isn't supposed to be fun. Dude, it was so good. It was such a good, I didn't know what to expect. I knew that you were onto something when you tweeted out. You were like, what does getting Tarkov mean to you? I was like, this is a YouTube video. I just knew it immediately.
And you know what? I was going to use all those tweets because it was supposed to be one video. Yeah. Right? I was going to use all those tweets in the video, but I got sidetracked when I did the whole Vivacious thing, and I was thinking about life, and completely. I was the whole point of my video when I started writing the script 8 hours before was going to be like a bitch fest about how, of course, it needs to be fucking fun. Like, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Bro. And that's kind of like where I went in, and where I was like, I went into the video when you're like, Tarkov's not supposed to be fun. And I was like, okay, dude, in my head, I was like, okay, just like Nikita said, it's not supposed to be fun, but like, I mean, it's a game, like, we're supposed to have fun, right? I was like, where's Veritas gonna pull the switcheroo on me? And then I just sat there, and you were like explaining the meaning of life to me, and it was so good. It was. I mean, I can't say, I'm glad to hear that you're saying that the like response has been really positive. Like, that makes me really happy, because for me, which is really the only one I can speak to, it really did, because it just ended up not being about Tarkov and just about exactly like look back at some of the things in your own life, like your favorite anything, you know what I mean? Your favorite movies, your favorite books, some of the memories that you can look back to now and be like, that made me, who I am today. Like, it's just almost fun is an element of it. Yeah.
If you didn't have those, the whole experience, and not including bugs and stuff, which I'll touch on in a bit. If you didn't have those things, then Tarkov would not be Tarkov.
Exactly. It's just, and it brought me back to that, like almost back to that brand new, I just bought Tarkov, and you get that first, PMC kill. Like, and it was funny that you showed some of that really early footage of you playing in Factory, and you were like on the corner, like a PMC like backs into you and you shoot him, and you could tell in your face that, it was like you hadn't killed a PMC all day, and you were like, like, you know what I mean? And so it really did. I thought the video did a really good job at like starting us off really narrow. You know, is Tarkov supposed to be fun? Ballooning into this just like meaning of life, and then bringing it back to like how Tarkov, you know, even in its current state, one could argue better replicates that like full circle of life than most other games, which is why we love it so much, whether we know how to say it like you said it or not. And it's why I think that's part of why so many people stick around just to complain. Like I said this in a podcast previously where I was like, why the hell don't people just play other games? You know what I mean? Like I feel like other communities just when the game sucks, they just move on. You know what I mean? And so I think this is part of it. I think and then to hear, which I'm sure you'll touch on, like how Nikita responded and like giving him almost like a voice of what he's been trying to say is exactly, he wants you to be able to feel all those emotions like anger, frustration, joy, fun. It's everything. It's not just, I don't know. So it really surprised me. The video really did. And it like got really almost existential really quick. It was kind of amazing.
Dude, I'm telling you, I sat down and I'd been working for a week on this script, and none of any of the stuff that you saw in that video existed until yesterday morning.
That's crazy.
It all completely fell in like by accident almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and fun fact that all the footage that I have in the video of all the video games, I obviously don't have like capture card footage from when I was 11 playing Ocarina of Time or whatever, but the chicken dinner from PUBG, that was my first chicken dinner ever.
That's funny.
I had to go back in my like fucking Facebook or whatever, and I posted it like 2017, you know, like February or something. So yeah, fun fact. But yeah, no, it was totally kind of came out of nowhere, sort of by accident. And like I said, the whole point of the video was originally going to be, it was kind of going to be that Nikita and the guys have the right to make the game how they want.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be fun, but it should be, you know, and fuck you guys for not making it fun, because it's so easy to make it fun. And then in this whole process, I was like, no, like fun means something different here. Yep. I mean, it's honestly like the video could have been fun doesn't mean what you think it means.
Yeah, that could have been the title of the video.
It could have been a different thing. But yeah, so when I sent the video to Nikita, because it was one of those things like, you know, there were times where I'm like, due to incompetence and lack of foresight, you know, like I say shit and I'm like, I know if I heard that, I'd be like, ugh, like fuck off, you know, like even if it was true, you know, so, but I was trying to be fair, and I was trying to not be just like harsh for the sake of harshness. Just trying to be honest and balanced. So I sent him the video, and then I said, if I get anything totally wrong, feel free to let me know. I can always address it in future videos. Like if he's like, that's not what I meant at all. Yeah. You know, I just want you to fucking hate the game, you know, or something. I'd be like, oh, okay. Well then part 2 is just kidding. Everything I said was nothing, you know? And his response to me was, and I've never gotten this tone out of Nikita before. It's like, it just so warmed my heart so fucking much. He said, man, you described everything perfectly. That was the first sentence, and I was like, fucking.
And Veritas retires from YouTube.
I was so close to making just the wrong video.
Oh, and then
it's all because I didn't want to put gaiety. I didn't want to put the term gay, Gaee, you know, I didn't want to put gaiety in there. So I'm like, well, I got to look for fucking synonyms to try to like explain what this means. That's literally, you can blame gaiety for the immaturity of the internet. But yeah, so he said, the game is not about fun and simple emotions. It's about replication of real life battle experience in the connected feelings. And then the next thing he said, which is one of those things, like it's so at his face, just like so many of the things that you hear him say. When I was going back and watching those videos, it's almost like I listened to the things that Nikita said, years ago, and you see I'm paying attention, I'm listening, but like it just didn't register.
Yeah.
You know, the same way, and that's why I regret so badly not like focusing on that thing. You ever watch like an interview and you're like, wait, that person just admitted murder? Like, no, stick, don't move forward. Wait. Stick to that. Clarify that. You know.
Yeah.
But so he said, the perfect scenario is to have only a game and you and other players. And then he said, no cheaters, no bugs. He said it would be the ultimate experience. And it's like, I mean, like imagine Tarkov as it is, and this is perfectly ties in what the other videos that I want to make. Yeah. Imagine Tarkov, and then you get rid of, this is a thought experiment, but get rid of cheaters, get rid of all the bugs, all the annoying things, and you have a fucking what would be a work of art.
Yeah.
But then the only other thing that it's missing is, I would argue, polish around some of the UX and design around quests and around some of the RNG and some of the systems. You know, like the ballistic system could be simplified while still having the same complexity and behavior it has now, but like in such a way that you could rewrite the whole thing from scratch to where you could show a few numbers when you double click on the ammo and you could see the numbers and know what they mean and know how they interact, you know, but you couldn't do that now. If you've seen the equations that I wrote to replicate like 1.8 times 100 plus the armor resistance, that whole thing is in parentheses squared divided by 100 multiplied by, it's like you just, there's 17 different variables and a bunch of magic numbers, you know, times 2.73. Like, what is that? I don't know. It's just a thing that they multiply it by. So the game without the bugs, without cheaters, but also with some of the rough edges
smoothed out,
that they might not be aware of, because I hate to say they don't play the game, because that's dismissive and kind of condescending, but when I say that, I mean something different than like, you don't play the game, you don't go here. You know what I mean is like, when you live with the game all day, every day, you get like repetitive stress injuries, you know, where it's like, I do this and it fucking bugs out every time. Like, you see how some bugs, especially from the developer's perspective, there are probably bugs that Nikita's like, we need to fix now that nobody's ever seen before, you know, or 1% of the players will see. Whereas, you know, like the preset system is even more broken than it's ever been. And it's like, now I definitely can't use it. So I want to try and say, let's point out the bugs that they're not aware of. Mm-hmm. Let's let them know about things like desync and how bad it is, so that they know the scope and they can prioritize properly. Some of these other things they're not there to be fun. They're punishing, and the game is going to be hard, and you're not always going to feel a happy emotion, but that's okay. Yeah. You need to live with that because that's what they want. And then these other things, we should beg them to change because they don't contribute to that feeling in the same way. Yeah. It's, you know, it's kicking you in the nuts as opposed to, you know, giving you a nice talking to. Like, one of the things is just like, it's bad design, right? Yeah. If every time you went to go click on someone's head, the scope moved. You know, it's like, that's just bad design. It's hardcore,
bro.
What I mean? But that's the thing, and that's kind of the critical element that I want to touch on, is that so many people complain about so many things. The game isn't fun and it sucks and blah blah blah, and they complain badly. Yeah. So what Nikita hears is, I'm just bitching, the game needs to be in. So his answer is pretty much like, it's not supposed to be fun. Yeah. If you're here for fun, whatever. But then there's people like me who are like, yeah, but the user experience with this feature can be improved in such a way that will make the game more rewarding and challenging for players of all difficulties and and experience levels. And the game's not meant to be fun. I just told everybody and I'm telling you, and it's like, it gets drowned out and dismissed, you know, by all of the bullshit. So, being able to properly categorize things, I think, is going to be huge, and I really hope it's probably a pipe dream let's get everybody on the internet all rallying behind the same.
Yeah. So, but I think here's what I think though, is that like, you will probably convince 0 people that are committed to hating Tarkov to like change. But what I think is going to happen is you'll provide a well thought out perspective for everyone else. Does that make sense? Like, I think the people that are just like the people that are just committed, you know what I mean? It's like you see a tweet and you see a guy respond to every response to the tweet. It's like, just let you know they got this wrong. Just let you know they got this. And they'll respond like those people, but the Escape from Tarkov version, the people that are just going to keep printing Reddit posts and coming into people's chats and trying to get banned as often as possible, you'll probably convince a very small majority of them. But I think it will create a voice. It's just like, I think so many, I'm so eternally optimistic, but I feel like so many people want that perspective. They want a voice. They're like, I'm not a game dev and I don't know, but I think they have like super deep subconsciously those feelings that you have. It's like, this just doesn't make sense. This isn't that like, I want the game to be hardcore. I want it to be, this just doesn't make sense. And so I think it's providing a perspective, and which I think is a part of why the feedback has been so good for that first video. But I really think that it's more about giving everybody else a place to like learn and understand and think critically, and not so much about those people will still be them. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, that is true. I mean, the most significant thing for me is just that I like a paradigm shift in my head. I like changing my mind.
Yeah.
It's so funny how many people say that Veritas thinks you can't be wrong. It's like, I literally I've been bitching about the game for so long, and I basically partially, not totally, because a lot of the frustration has been the bugs, but like I kind of was like, stop bitching, Veritas. This is important, and it's not always going to be, So part of it was this paradigm shift in my head, and then being able to codify it in video form, because I'm much better in videos and writing scripts than I am talking, because I fucking ramble and I whatever. But then to have everybody in the community be like, that's the feeling that I've had that I couldn't articulate, and then have Nikita be like, yes, that's what I was trying to say. When you see he's like taking the Cyrillic and mashing it together and coming out with mashed potatoes that ends up becoming the English. He's trying so hard to get what's in his head and his heart, and it's even worse because there are people. How many people, English is their primary language, and they haven't been able to articulate this thing?
Yeah.
Well, he had one other barrier, which is
100%
language. So I feel it's the way that I feel is almost like, you ever like you're walking down the street, or whatever, and all of a sudden like a car comes inches away from you and it honks, and you're like, holy shit, like I almost just died, and you just like feel like lucky.
Yeah.
That bus was me gonna bitch about the game should be fun.
Yeah, there was a video coming down the tracks.
And I like sneezed and like, accidentally just lucked my way out of making the wrong video. And I'm hoping this is like the beginning of a shift.
It is funny, that the perspective of like, you don't like to be wrong. And it's funny because I feel like that happens. It happens to me on some small scale as well, where like the people that almost like enjoy being wrong, and I don't mean enjoy, but like enjoy the results of being wrong. Like if I was wrong about something, that means on the other end of it, I've learned the truth about something else, which I actually prefer to know the truth. That often just totally gets misinterpreted. You know what I mean? Because it's like when people think you're wrong.
A flip-flopper.
Yeah, when people think you're wrong, they want you to be exiled for being wrong. They want you to be ashamed for being wrong. They want you to be publicly defaced for being wrong. But for some reason, even though when I'm talking to somebody and I know that they're wrong, I just want them, like, the best thing is when they're like, oh my God, I hadn't considered that. And it's like, oh yeah, no, exactly. And now we can kind of like get up to speed about it. And so, yeah, it's people say that, but exactly, without listening to this podcast, they'd have no idea that you like sat down to write the complete opposite video. and that the video they watch that they might be commenting on, like, well, you're just, you know what I mean? You don't want to be, is the wrong, like, it's the wrong. It's the, you were wrong about what you thought, so you made a different video, and then they'll complain about it. So it's just crazy because, yeah.
Dude, the file is called eftbad.doc. eftbad.doc is the name of the file. And the whole thing is copy-pasted. I have my whole original intro was actually all about, I when I was writing this, I ended up getting way too much into talking about me and the community and like that interplay.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I'm like 9 paragraphs in, and here I am just like talking about it. I almost felt like it was writing in my diary about how, you know, how many times have I pointed out this bug and then I get, you know, shit on by the community, and then, you know, 6 months later, after something's fixed and everybody's like, yeah, Veritas said the complete opposite thing, and good thing that, you know, Cotton said X and everything got fixed, and it's always just like, wait, what? You know, it was a whole thing, and it's just like, this fucking feels shitty. It feels like I'm complaining about being divisive and also being divisive. So I just literally put the whole thing at the bottom of the document and started with new bullet points, and I'm so glad I did. Yeah,
that's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, it's dope though. I'm super excited. I think it's good. I think it'll be. I'm glad that you made the different video. I'm glad that I'm excited for the. I don't know. I was trying to figure out when you messaged me earlier. I was trying to figure out how to say it. It's like it just brought so much. I don't want to say different perspective, because like it just like revealed something I already knew. It was exactly that. It was like something, you know, it's like the moment where Nikitas like he's like trying to come up with that word in English he doesn't know, and somebody's like, oh, you mean this? And he's like, yes. Like I watched that video and I was like, yes, that's it. That's what I've been thinking. That's what I've been feeling. And that's why I feel like it resonated so positively with people, because it wasn't like this revelation. And that is, I think, the beauty of the video, is because the part of it that, you know, transcends video games is so applicable to everybody. Like, you know what I mean? That's just like a facts that like some of the best things that have ever happened to you weren't necessarily fun. So it's something that connected with everybody. And then it was just like that. Oh, it wasn't like a brand new, I learned that X and Y meant Z. It was like connecting to something that I've always thought. It's like, oh, that, it just put words to it. And so it was cool. It was super cool to see Nikita respond so well to it too, like that. Because I think that is something that's not underrated. I don't know what the word is, but like the language barrier. It's like, imagine if I was trying to explain to somebody how much I loved my wife in Russian. It's like, get as basic as possible.
So clumsy.
Get as basic as possible. You know what I mean? Like, because
the chest feels warmth.
Yes, exactly. It's
longing for,
and
you know,
think about that though. Like, why you love somebody that you love. Think about why, you know, what do you want to do for a living, and why? Oh man, my dad, he always did this, and then that, you know what I mean? Imagine trying to explain that to somebody in a different language. That's how our brains work. Let's simplify, refine, cut away as least amount of words as possible, because I don't know very many words. And then that's exactly what Nikita's doing. This is, you know, borderline his life's work. You know what I mean? He's so pumped about this. And then we get oh God, I don't know how to speak this in English, so let me try to be as descriptive and as simple as possible. And then
we're focused on him fumbling around, and then we're not even listening to...
Going back to what we talked about last week, whatever comes out of his mouth, it's gospel. You know what I mean? It is the Tarkov Bible, and we abide by it. You know what I mean? So it's just hard. It's got to be a really hard position to be in, you know?
Yeah, there's 2 things. Actually, I think I forgot one of them. Yep, I forgot one of them.
Okay. There's one thing.
But yeah, there's one check mark. I will say that one of my goals, if I could choose any YouTuber to try to be like, that I've always had in the back of my mind, it's always been some of my favorite content out there. It's Vsauce.
Yo.
And I will say that video unintentionally I think was the most Vsauce-esque video I've ever made,
100%.
where it's just like fucking going all over the place and then it ties together at the end. Like
100%.
It makes me want, like, I need to figure out what that recipe is, and I need to do that more. But yeah, I really want to start the next one with like the fucking little keys, and I'd be like, Veritas, Mike here.
Dude,
just kidding.
That's
you know, like,
super funny. Yeah, that was very Vsauce.
Yeah, it's one of my proudest achievements was coming close to a Vsauce video. Anyway, so we don't have to blabber on about my fucking. We patted myself on my back.
No, man, I don't, dude. Screw anybody that thinks that what that was. You need to go watch the video and then come back and listen to the podcast, because I think it's good. I think it's exciting. How many do you think it's gonna end up being? How many videos?
It's one of those things, like, I might, like,
could be 2, could be 20.
Being totally realistic, I could never do another one.
Yeah.
Or it could be a 10-part series. You know, it's really hard. It's really hard, especially because, and this is something we don't have to get into. Maybe we'll save it for another episode, but I'm digging a little bit deeper into another game idea that I think could be really fucking radical. So, like, if I end up making any progress or that, it's like, well, fuck, you know, develop a game by yourself while also streaming, while also making YouTube videos and making music, and, you know, not making my wife divorce me. You know, it's like, there's only so many hours in the day. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I have about 20 bullet points that are all like expectation, reality.
Yeah.
And I think a bunch of them I can combine. So theoretically, I think maybe 8 videos could kind of touch on all the things that I want to touch on.
Yeah.
8 like 20 to 30 minute videos.
That's dope. I look forward to them all.
We'll see.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, in Tarkov land, I mean, the big thing that's been happening is we finally got 12.8. How you been liking it? How you feeling?
Today was the first successful day that I've had in 12.8.
Okay.
I will say that. But that's largely because I've been, especially after that video, kind of changed my mindset around, like, if you think about Saving Private Ryan, think about, like, Tom Hanks gets back to the barracks. He's not, like, looking to see how many guns he's got hung up on the wall, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so that just makes me, like, approach the game a lot differently and more of, like, I want to fucking... It makes me value my life in the game more.
Yeah.
And surviving more. Yeah, so I was playing a lot more cautiously, taking my time, trying to, like, even though I feel a little self-conscious, like, if I loot filing cabinets, I'm literally, like, looking at chat thinking someone's going to make the comment about how I'm just being a rat, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, like, fucking stupid. It's stupid for me to think that, but it's also, like, it sucks that the community is, like, trained themselves and content creators to be like, where's your money? You know, why are you looting this thing? Why aren't you getting out? Why aren't you fighting? You know, or why are you just running out in the open towards the gunfire? It's just like, because I want to fucking play the game. I want to play the game.
Yep.
So playing a little bit more cautiously, not running towards fights. Yeah, I survived every raid today, except for there were 2 raids that I died in. One of which was to, and I'm glad I had OBS running, even though I wasn't streaming, to some real bad desync. Just real bad. And there was like a level 4 standard account player that, like, some teleport level desync that was using, like, full meta everything with the giant backpack. I'm like, you know, I wouldn't have thought that they were a cheater, but there's just something about a level 4 rocking an HK
and a raid bag,
a killer helmet and a raid bag. That's like, I just don't buy it. But yeah, it looked like net code. And then the second one I showed a clip of earlier, and I can show you later if you want, was there was a 4-man squad I was up against, and I killed all 3 out of 4, most of which I was subjected to the flashbang shotgun shell, which I will say everybody's been asking me about it, and I've just been like, flashbangs have been so fucking pointless in this game. Nobody cares about flashbangs, and everybody's like, what do you think about the new flashbang? I've got a clip from this stream. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't care about this new annoying thing, just like the grenade launcher. And I don't care. It's not, when I say I don't care, it's not that, like, I'm not saying that your concerns aren't important or that it's not a problem. It's just like, I haven't experienced it, and I'll get to it when I get to it. And then after one fight today, it was on reserve, it wasn't factory, it wasn't labs, one fight today, I'm like, clip that and put that in my folder for the shitty parts about Tarkov that make it so that you don't have any way of a rebuttal. There's no way for you to counter it. Just like grenade launchers, it's the same reason why grenade launchers are bad, but like one tapping to the head isn't bad, because like one is skill. So you're like, I'm fine, I can't counter that because he had to, like, that was a fucking great shot. Yeah. So he's either earned it or he got lucky, and it doesn't happen that often. Yeah. The alternative is if you just, you know, left mouse button in my general direction and I die, and, you know, that's like, no, you didn't earn that. That's annoying, and there's no way for me to counter it. Yeah. These flashbang shotgun shells is another bad example, I think, of things that there's nothing you can do except just be fucking blinded. Like, it was like I got in a fight with like 3 separate people, all while the screen was black with a flash thing. Yeah. It was just, I might as well have been like literally a blind person. Yeah. Yeah. So they need to change that. So that's the vets. So we transitioning into the things about 12.8 I wanted to talk about. That was the very first thing, was that shotgun. So the shotgun as a whole, have you used the shotgun? Never used it. No, I actually looted the first one I have today, so I have 2 of them. Okay. I might use it. Give it a try. It's insane. Okay, so it's the shrapnel 10 rounds, I believe it's 10 pellets, and each of them do 87 damage. Yeah, it can one tap to the arm. So it can one tap to the arm, full health, or as long as all the pellets hit. Yeah, or the arms or the legs if you're close enough. So it's a monster. And then of course the star rounds, which are the flashbang rounds, which I like. I agree with like everything you're saying about it. Just doesn't provide any. 8 pellets. Sorry, 8 pellets. Sorry. The star round just doesn't provide any like counter. There just is nothing you can do. You just got, and you're probably gonna die unless the guy is an actual potato playing Escape from Tarkov. So, but at least with like a flash bang, you have a split second. Yeah. Well, as long as you're not on, you know. But imagine playing the game all day, and every time you. Oh yeah. Imagine sitting in a room and you're like, okay, cool. You get like in an engagement, and what happens is one dude goes blind fires, bang, you're blind for a literal minute. Yeah. And now it's like the people can just run in and you're fucked, right? Yeah. All you need to do is, if you have a team of 2, if the first guy jiggle peeks, he doesn't have to hit you, right? Like, he just shoots. So you know how easy it is to jiggle peek and shoot and have it something just be in your general direction? Yeah. It's 99 times out of 100, anybody with any amount of, you know, motor skills can pull that off. So you just jiggle peek and pop a shotgun round, which is exactly what happened, except I managed to hit a headshot in that interim because I'm used to the timing. Yeah. It's similar to when someone repeaks. A lot of times there's like a rhythm. So he peeked and flashed, and I was like, oh shit. Click, and I just right-clicked the laser so that he ran through and died. But then I just backed up and was like, I don't know where I am. I'm totally fucking blind. Please don't come. Please don't rush. Please don't rush. And I just hear footsteps all around me, and it's like, and then right as the color's starting to come back, I see like movement and I'm just spraying and I die. And it's like, it was so long, dude.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, do you think, I mean, I know this is all we've had it for a few days. The jury's still out. You know what I mean? But do you think that there's a universe in which something like that based on a realistic, round like exists in the game for tactical play, but feels fair? Or do you think that it's just like delete that from the game? It is an unnecessary piece of garbage. Because because the pendulum swinging, right? You're absolutely right. Flashbangs are effectively a useless thing. Of course, yes, if you go hunting, you can find a clip of a flashbang used to perfection and it's dope. But then I would ask you how many flashbangs you've thrown in Tarkov. You know what I mean? And then this just swung that pendulum the other way. It's like, how about a point and click flashbang that you put 3 inches away from the person's eyeball? Yes, like, you know what I mean? So, but do you think there's a world where it exists somewhere in the middle where it's useful but not OP? I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe it only lasts 10 seconds. Maybe it goes black and then immediately the color starts to refill. I don't know.
If it was if it was exactly like the normal flashbang, to where, what is that, only like 5 seconds or something? Like, I still think that would be OP.
Well, it depends. If you throw a flashbang at the ground and you look at it, it's exactly like the shotgun. It takes forever. But like the thing about the flashbang round is that they. Are
you sure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did a video about grenades and I did that. I just like looked at it and it was like, poof. And it took a long time. Maybe
not 30 seconds. You know how many times I've fully flashed myself for either for the memes or for that flashbang quest?
Yeah, I
literally,
guess,
you flashbang
maybe.
yourself, and this was just I was staring at the burned in image of a thing completely taking up the screen for what felt like 30 seconds.
Okay,
which
maybe it's not exactly, but all I do know for a fact is that there are 70 gradients of how much you can get flashed by a flashbang. Like, I've been flashed by a flashbang where it's just like my screen kind of goes black because it was like down in that corner and it just kind of like got darker. I've gotten flashed where the screen went black, but it wasn't the like eye hole burn white thing and it came back really quick. And then I've gotten flashed where I'm running around for 10 seconds, and I'm just running into a wall the whole time. There's gradients of it, of the flashbang. Yeah. And that's why I think, because it falls below your eye line, you're looking up and that thing can fall just maybe a little bit behind you, a little in front of you, it's below you. Whereas this shotgun just comes around and it's in your face.
Did we talk about logic on the last episode and like making, like, I think we talked about logical syllogisms and like making argument and debate, right? So you do this in practice right now, because the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me about this thing is you're essentially asking me the question of something is realistic, perfectly realistic on one end, not necessarily realistic on another end. And a lot of people will say that it's just a binary, realistic good, not realistic bad. And the way that I look at it is I say, okay, well, let me try to think of an absurd example that even that guy would disagree with, because if he says that realism is always good, if I say here's something that's realism, is it good, and you say, well, no, I've now proven that not everything is good, and now there's buckets, right?
If your only argument is realism good, that can be disproven very quickly.
Yeah, then okay, well, how about there's a 0.002% chance that you have a genetic defect that has a brain aneurysm and you just fall dead.
Just instantly,
like, do you want that in the game? But the other thing that I can think of that's actually less ridiculous and more relevant is like, imagine I was gonna say calling it an airstrike, but like a tactical nuke. Imagine if there was a tactical nuke in this game and you loaded into a raid and you pressed the button and within 5 seconds everybody was dead. Like, great, I guess. Like, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you would die too, I guess, but like it. But the reason why it's bad is because it serves no point in the experience, like we talked about like it doesn't it doesn't give you the stresses of, you know, of being able to have any sort of agency, of feeling like you, you know, have control over your character in this world, and you can make decisions and, you know, have power over your own destiny. Like you earn things, none of that. And I would say that that spectrum it's on is like the grenade launcher and those flashbang rounds are along the same spectrum, where it's like they might be realistic, but it's not necessarily great for the experience or for the game. And I would say you can approach. There's like a threshold where I would be like, one's on one side where I would say I would take it out if it was my game. Yeah. There are other things where you start to think about like, I'm not sure. And right when I cross over that threshold is like the Mosin. Yeah. And how you can have a cheapo rifle where can pretty much one tap anybody, you know, like, okay. Most people's argument is, well, have you seen how big the 7.62x54 Russian round is? It's going to kill you in real life. It's like, yeah, but, you know, like from a game design perspective. So that's one of those things that, you know, it is worth discussing, but it's really close to the edge of like, could be reworked or removed versus no, I think it's just okay and we have to deal with it. So this is an interesting, this will potentially be an interesting bridge between last week's podcast and then even the one before that with Aqua and your video, because the video that you made really had almost the exact same effect on me, by the way. Like, I'm excited to get into Tarkov today and like experience emotion. Like, I've never been more excited to die in Tarkov and feel the weight of it. You know what I mean? Like exactly what you talked about, all that stuff. But we also got like super hype and excited theory crafting and vision casting in the past few weeks about things like VoIP and running around as a demented man looking for his son, which, you know what I mean, feels out of the context of like feel the emotion of a war and battlefield. So in the context role playing, yes, but okay. Well then let me take this. Let me throw something at you and you just tell me what you feel about it. What emotions you have. Okay. Open world, VoIP. Me and the homies all come in and KS-23 flashbang a squad, and by the time they're not blind, they're all tied up. Okay? And we don't want to kill them, but we're looting them and we're talking trash to them, or we're telling them to go back to their bare base and tell them that the USECs have infiltrated customs and that tell me that that's not awesome. And then imagine being the other guy who could like SOS emergency broadcast radio signal to his other homies who are also connected to the same server to be like, help us. Yeah. You know, like.
But that's exactly though. So
fuck yeah.
So, okay. So that's what I'm saying is like, where is that line of like this? Yeah. Because until that very second, I thought your opinion was take them out of the game because they don't serve the purpose of the greater game. But I can see a world where they absolutely provide some sort of value or purpose towards the narrative of role play and giving players options on non-lethal. Like, I'm definitely not saying that right now today when I turn around a corner and get flashed for a full 60 seconds and then die, that I enjoy that experience. I'm not saying that they don't need to be changed, nerfed, removed. I'm just saying like it's an interesting bridge because you just made a relatively compelling argument that they are on that sliding scale, that they are more towards the GL, where it requires very little skill to use and requires god tier skill to counter, so that they but when you open it up, when you connect it to some of those other conversations we've had, I have a much harder time being like, this, get rid of it, because this could provide some of the coolest experiences and memories that I've ever heard of in a video game. So
but the thing is that you could have all of those things without a grenade launcher or a shotgun flashbang. Imagine you shooting a guy and you have fucking no HP, you're out of meds, and you're on the other end of the thing, and you could be like, yo, I give up. You know, like, you know, you could do that with VoIP and not, or, you know,
but you could do the same thing.
The idea of knocking somebody out unconscious like in DayZ and having them wake up. That's something that I think is less bad because it's essentially like you still have to like damage them enough that they're effectively dead.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you're right on the edge. Yeah, what was it? There was that Pokemon move where, you know, like, or maybe it was false swipe or something. I forget. There was some move that made it so that like even if you crit hit, you could never bring him to 0.
Yeah.
It would always bring him to 1.
Yeah.
So if there was a mechanic like that, then that all you have been given in that scenario is we could have died. You could have died. The game could have easily said you are dead.
Yeah.
But in this case, it said no. So it's actually giving you a second chance. You can always fucking Alt F4, I guess, if you want. But they still had to shoot you in the head enough times to do that, and they could end you if they wanted to. That's different to me than the equivalent of, you know, like the scene from Saving Private Ryan, where imagine the fucking you're sitting there and all of a sudden you see, you know, you just get flashed. It's not the same, you know.
I don't know that we can make that distinction though, because I don't think that we can just say because you can have a similar experience with something else that X shouldn't be added, because then you could have the entire Tarkov experience with one gun. You know, why have more guns? Because all the experiences are effectively...
because they do add to the experience.
Yeah, but adding more guns adds to the experience, just like adding the KS-23 and the flashbang. If we're talking about ways to incapacitate an enemy non-lethally, then just having one way to do that versus 6 ways to do that, if all 6 of those ways just end in somebody incapacitated, there would definitely be situations where I would prefer to be flashed and have a chance to spray them down through the thing than to have gotten headshot unconscious and then wake up with my hands tied. So there's cool experiences on both sides.
And and I totally get what you're saying. I think the distinction comes in to the risk and skill involved in the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look at the tactical nuke. You're pressing a button and you've now incapacitated everybody. You know, like, it's that's like the ultimate ridiculous, you know, like no reward, no win situation that's just fucking bad for the game. So it's a scale, right? Because I think it doesn't take a particularly ballsy or skilled player to shotgun flash you.
Yeah, for sure.
As much as even throwing a flash.
Absolutely.
Or doing enough damage to headshot you, right? So in one case,
or a taser requires you to actually hit the person. You know.
Yeah. So that's what I think. Like, the distinction there is not necessarily. It's not just whether it adds to the gameplay or detracts from someone else's gameplay, but it's also how easy is it to use? Is it skill-based? Is it balanced in some way? Is there some way to counter it? At least if I get knocked out. You know, like I almost died the other day. I had my first ever person I tied up in DayZ.
Nice.
And it happened to be another streamer. She had like 4 viewers. It was awesome. I ended up rating her afterwards.
That's dope.
I wanted to try to blood infuse her with her different blood type. That's one of my goals.
You're so menacing.
But she ended up breaking out of the fucking thing and came at me, and it could have been entirely possible that she like hatcheted me or something, you know, while I was not paying attention. I had 1 bullet in an MP5. It didn't have a magazine, so I had the 1 bullet at a time. And luckily I popped her in the head, but I very easily could have fucking died.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I think that I accept.
I want you to earn it.
I was fully prepared to be like, Veritas, I'm right here. But I accept, even if I maybe disagree, I don't know yet. I accept that as a distinction that like, you're not saying there shouldn't be a variety of ways to incapacitate an enemy, but you're saying that like having some sort of skill attached to it makes a difference. And I guess that's true. I don't know.
Players need options to be able to in a perfect world, if I had 100 different moves I could do on you and you had 100 different moves you could do on me and 100 counter moves, you're essentially playing. It's much more of a game of chess, which is, you know, like way closer to a real game of skill.
Yeah.
Than I would say if you have a fight between two people with shotguns, it's here on the spectrum somewhere, you know, arbitrarily in the middle on the spectrum. And then if you have one of the people has a flashbang round, it moves closer to the it's a fucking flip a coin. Yeah. You know, I'd unfair, like to see, not fun.
It'd be interesting if when you shot it, if you weren't blind firing it, it blinded you as well. And that forced it into more of like a team play thing. You know what I mean? Like if that thing blows up, you know, 18 inches in front of you, you're not going to be able to see either. And so it's less effective if you're solo because, you know what I mean? You have to blind fire it. And at that point, you're not sure if they're peeking or not. I don't know. I don't know why. Okay, I bought 17 of the shotguns. I went into factory. My very first one, I blinded 2 guys, killed them both, felt like a Chad, and I'll probably never use the shotgun again. I hate shotguns. I'm so bad with shotguns in Tarkov. I think the honeymoon phase of these rounds will wear off, and it won't be something just like the grenade launcher. I've been killed by the grenade launcher. The only reason
why the grenade launcher wore off is because they're not in the game really anymore. That's why. Yeah, but don't think that the grenade launcher wore off, because it didn't.
No, but it did. The week the grenade launcher came out, how many times did you die with it when it was the most accessible ever? Same.
And I was well, see, that was the thing, is that I was one of those people who was like, I don't care, dude. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of an issue. No. And then the first time I died to it, I instantly was like, no, this is bad, because I opened up the green room in labs. Yeah. I opened the door and I jiggle peeked and I saw someone and I was like, okay, I'm going to think of bang. And I was just dead, even though because he splashed it on the ground. And it's
no, I know. I'm not.
Fuck that.
I'm not saying that the grenade launcher didn't need to be nerfed. I'm saying that there's arbitrarily, there's 100,000 Escape from Tarkov players. There's 7 clips circulating Twitter of people dying to a grenade launcher. So now the other 99,993 people that haven't gotten GL'd are calling the GL overpowered and saying that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying yes, that the star rounds do need attention. They do need work. Maybe they do need to be vaulted for a period of time. But I wholeheartedly believe that whether they vaulted or not, the 99,900, like, we're just not going to get flashed 17 times a day. You probably will if you go to factory for the next little bit. But
I haven't played factory and I haven't played lab since 12.8. I've only played shoreline and reserve. And I will say that out of the 6 raids I did today, it happened in 1 raid, and it was the one raid that I had. It was the only raid I had PvP.
Yeah.
The one raid I had PvP, and it was a 1v4, and I killed 3 people, and the reason why I died is because the second guy had a shotgun round, and it's like,
which they've already reduced the amount you can get per reset to 8 rounds,
which is completely irrelevant. All that does, it's one of those things like the people who, it's the same thing with the PKO6. When they wanted to, everybody was using the PKO6 forever, and Nikita was always like, oh, that's, it's like the worst sight in real life. I don't know why everybody uses it, and it's like, because it's the only non-dog shit.
Yeah, I don't care what it is in real life, Nikita. In the game, it's the best by far. Like,
it's not even that it was the best. It's just not shitty and broken like most of the other red dots are. Like the MRS. Most people just still don't know about the fucking alternate settings for the MRS, and they're still rolling around with that dot that bounces all over the place.
Dances.
So then their answer was, they want people to use some of the other things that they spent all the time modeling and putting in the game. Why is nobody using it? So what they did was they made the ergonomics a penalty.
Yeah.
People still used it because it's like, okay, -1 ergo. I'm still going to use the only functional fucking dot in the game. And then they were like, okay, well, we're going to make it like 45,000 rubles now instead of fucking 12,000.
Fixing the other optics.
And then guess what? Now I'm buying PKO 6s. I'm just spending shit tons of money on it, and so you're not punishing the meta Chad dudes who are rolling with meta HKs and stuff, because they can pay fucking whatever because they've got infinite money. You're punishing the people who are unlucky and the people who are bad and the people who are new, and it doesn't actually solve the problem.
It took them off the traders, right? They actually removed the PKO 6 from Jaeger last night. It just wasn't there.
So I went to go buy one today, and it said there was none in stock.
Yeah,
So I assumed that they made it so that like I actually assumed two things. One, they reduced how many he has in stock, and two, they made it so that things that aren't in stock don't show up on the flea market, because before they would show up on the flea market as none in stock, but now that just doesn't show up.
As far as I know, it's actually vaulted. It does not show on Jaeger. Like most things that are out of stock, you can click on it and then it'll say out of stock. It is not showing on Jaeger. I checked all of them to see if maybe they moved it to level 4 Jaeger. It is not showing on Jaeger. I played for 5 hours straight last night, and at no point, every time I was out of a raid, I went to go check. It is gone.
You know what the new money loot is now going to be? The Keter that has the
100%.
PKO6.
They're
like,
going on the
like,
flea market for like 80K. PKO6.
It's so
so backwards. It's yes, exactly, Nikita. You spent a crap ton of time modeling 17 other amazing red dots in the game. If you just fix them, you know what I mean? Like the MRS with the wobble and all these other things, it's like we'll use them, you know what I mean?
And that's a perfect example of there's this quote unquote problem around everybody only using the PKO6. So rather than address the real heart of it, which is the other ones look like shit and you can't see anything and they don't line up properly and they're broken and whatever.
Yeah.
It's let's try to attack it from this angle.
Yeah, from the complete.
That's 100% what like episode 3 of my video series is going to be like.
Yeah.
Please understand what we're not saying that the PKO6 is the greatest thing in the world and we love it so much and that's all we want to use. We're just saying it's the only one we can use because everything else is dog shit. So if I have to eat dog shit and to be able to use the PKO6, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
As long as he knows what the problem is, it's not everybody uses one thing. It's because of the other things are inadequate in some other way.
And then there's a lot of like weird information going around because like people are thinking that they removed the PKO6 because of the arm hitbox thing, which is just
makes no sense.
Sense because you could put 4 other optics, on the NC Star. It's like, but because they removed the NC Star and the PKO6 at the same time, it's just like, oh, it's because of the meta. It's because of the meta. It's because of the meta. It's like, dude, I'll go buy an NC Star off of the flea market right now for 250,000 rubles, and I'll put a delta point on it and show you that this exact thing still is like, you know what I mean? It's so weird. But let's move on. We can go through really quickly about the shotgun and the star rounds. The staircases are so messed up in this game, bro. Okay, I played factory. I played 2 raids. Okay, I played 1 raid on factory. I flashed 2 dudes and I took their stuff. I played another raid and I was running around and I was running up the stairs towards the office, right? And I round the corner of the stairs. There's a guy, a naked bear on the, like all the way up where on the level that the office is. And I'm halfway between the 2nd and 3rd level. And he looks at me right in the eyes and pulls the trigger with that. And on my end, it looked like I shot it. It was a bright white light and then no vision was gone for me and I just shot him.
Do you think he was blinded?
No, I don't think so. I just think I did it. It didn't register me on that floor, so it didn't blind me.
You know what?
I was like, I killed that dude, and I was like, staircases suck. They're the worst. I don't know if that was literally like day 1 of the way. I don't know if they've changed it. I don't know if they fixed it. I don't know. But he stared at me and pointed that thing at me and pulled the trigger, dude. And I was like, what's up, dude?
Yo, that's actually really interesting because now I'm thinking back to the audio video I made.
Yeah.
And like theory crafting about how like
that's what made me think when you were breaking down
like, invisible occlusion between the floors.
When you were breaking down to me like how it slices it up. That's what I thought of. I haven't repeated this experiment. I could probably go back and find the clip or whatever. And maybe he was shooting and there was a railing or something, but it felt in that moment like he was looking right at me and he pulled the trigger and I just shot him. It was weird.
That makes sense. Although what's different about flash things than flashlights. Because imagine if like all of a sudden the flashlight got cut off.
When you were
like,
below them.
When you were below, like that, I would almost expect that to happen too, unless there's different way. And I'm sure somebody who's like a Unity dev is probably like, no, those are two different kinds of light algorithms that they use. I don't know. We could test this by sitting on the middle part and then throwing a flashbang. Presumably it's the same thing. Throwing a like underhand the flashbang and have it land on the top. And have you
just
look directly at it
and see.
I don't know. That'd be an interesting test.
But it was interesting. Okay, so 12.8, some of the other stuff, some of the big stuff. Most importantly, no, I'm just kidding. I just need to talk about this clip I've been telling everybody. Are you a Bear or USEC?
USEC.
Okay, so have you heard any of the Bear 3 voice lines?
Yes.
Have you seen the clip of him singing of Deadly, like with Deadly, or any of the clips where the Bear 3 sings?
No,
Oh
I saw Deadly like saying how like normally there's like 5 or 6 different ways they say something. I saw Deadly doing one command that seemed like it only had one version. So he was just screaming the same thing over and over, and I thought that was pretty funny. But that was the only one I saw.
I will send you this clip. He's on, I think it's Woods, and he's in the middle of a fight with somebody, and he's been memeing around, spamming comms the whole time. And the guy's in a bush, and Deadly's aiming at him, and he just hits F1, and the guy's like, oh, and Deadly's like, and he just keeps singing, and he keeps singing, and then immediately when he stops singing, the dude runs out of the bush, and Deadly kills him, and he was just like, what was that? And he's been like spamming comms nonstop to try to recreate it, and he's gotten it like 5 or 6 other times. Is it a
casual mumble or an aggressive mumble?
It's just one of the F1. It's super casual. It's like he's eating some Tashanka singing about.
There's two kinds of mumbles, right?
Yeah.
You know that.
No, it's
very. There's like if you shoot, then for like 30 seconds, any of your mumbles will be aggressive.
It felt like he was in the middle of a fight, but he's singing like a lullaby, man.
Send me the clip and we'll play it. And if the audio, you know what? It might cut the audio off because you never hear my fucking audio. But maybe you can edit and post if we can't hear it. What the chat mic music? Okay, I think this will work. I got the link. Let me know if you can hear.
I just sent it, but yeah.
Can you hear that? Can you hear?
Yeah. Do it again. Yeah.
So you hear it not through like my headphones?
I don't think so. It sounded really crisp.
Okay.
Dude, it's so good. What? The fuck was that? The fuck was that? What? Dude, it's so good.
He sounds like that's like a Native American pan flute should be like in the background.
I've watched that clip 70 times. Dude, I have watched that clip so many times. It's so good.
Okay, one more time.
Yeah.
Holy shit. He sings bastard, what a dickhead is apparently the fucking lyrics.
Wow.
Вот падла, вот падла, паскуда мразота, урод.
What? The fuck was that? Bro.
Keck W's.
The fuck was that? Dude.
Dude, it sounds like not Russian, but more like Middle Eastern.
It's
like salam alaikum kind of shit. Like
it's my favorite thing out of 12.8 was that specific clip. Not just that there's a bear taunt where it's singing. It's that it happened at Deadly and you got to get that reaction in the middle of a fight and then he kills the guy. I was trying to tell him he needs to go Night Woods. If you could hotkey that command, you could convince people cultists were in the game, bro. Just following somebody, like get a thermal just so you can scan and see and then run up to people and just sing.
I mean, VoIP.
Oh yeah. Anyways, whew. Classic. Okay, so heavy bleeding. Have you experienced it? How do you feel?
Well, yes, I have, and it's one of those things that my gut reaction is to be like, I fucking hate it.
Yep.
Whatever. But it's because purely out of laziness. It's just so much more bullshit that you have to deal with, and more meds you have to take with you, and it's just a lot of work, but not like interesting or fun work.
That's why I love it.
Which is the frustrating part for me. But I will say that there's only one meaningful change that I think, as long as you're prepared, because now you have to make sure you've got enough to stop the bleed, otherwise you are absolutely fucked.
Yeah, you're dead.
But I will say that as soon as I thought about it on day one, before I experienced it, I was like, what this is going to mean is so many more blacked out thoraxes and blacked out heads. I'm like, that's my... And then literally the next raid I got in on a shoreline, I killed 3 people, got in 3 fights, and it was like all my arms were black, my stomach was black, my thorax was black. I healed everything, got another fight, everything was black. It's just like everything's constantly blacked out. And it just makes me super frustrated because I just hate the way that the thorax and the head respond to being blacked out, and the different bugs around it. Like, it's so annoying. Yeah. It's so annoying.
I mean, you made a video about how like sometimes letting your head get blacked is like better, right? Didn't you include that in?
It's pretty much always better.
Yeah.
Like if you stop a bleed and you have 1 HP in your head and one of your legs is blacked, if you take a step, you die.
Yeah.
But if your head is blacked and you take a step, you take damage, but it doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
But then you have like the annoyingness of just being like,
yeah, forever. So
but if you touch barbed wire, you die. Like, there are just so many things that I just want them to I want them to fix the way that behaves, and then it wouldn't be so bad. I don't know.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts on it. Like, I personally am all about like I'm all about having more thought process going into a fight. I'm all like, it's hard to, when changes like this happen, it's really hard to get an objective opinion on it because we compare it to what Tarkov was yesterday. We compare it to what Tarkov was in 0.9, in 0.8, in 0.7, and it's hard to compare it to what we want Tarkov to be because, like we said in last week's podcast, we don't know what we want Tarkov to be. So, but for what I want Tarkov to be personally, I like this ever-growing list of things to consider and think about.
You sick fuck.
Because I like an envisioned future in my head where taking a fight is a decision for the most part. Obviously, if you get engaged on, that's not your decision. But like, I see a duo, I don't have enough meds anymore. I don't know if I want to take this fight. I like that ever-growing list. I like that allows you to potentially catch somebody off guard. But the huge caveat for me and why it's really right in the middle is because a fundamental thing that I very personally, this isn't anybody, personally think that Tarkov needs is incentivize people to stay in raids longer. And this does
which is what the surgery kits did.
Yes, this is completely opposite of that. If I get in one fight with a hatchling or a pistoling and I caught a heavy bleed and now my thorax is blacked, I am leaving that raid instantly, immediately. It's not about profit. It's not about anything. I am leaving that raid. And so when I want to push towards more open world, I want to even not considering open world, I want to push towards like Smoke, who's in every single raid till like that 49th minute. You know what I mean? Just like, how much can I get? I want to incentivize that. We've talked at length about how extracting loot could basically just get rid of all the bull crap of you being in your stash and get into basically effectively a second raid. There's so many things, but this stands completely in the face of that. So I would like to see an ability to repair the thorax and head. I would like to see the other day, it was because of the heavy bleed. I had repaired the same leg so many times it had a max HP of 7.
I've had a max HP of 1 before.
So like
I totally agree with you. It's one of the
puts me in a
biggest
weird
steps in
spot.
one of the biggest steps in the right direction was adding the surgery kits.
Yes.
It's changed the game.
Everything.
This is, I think it's good, but it's also a step in the other direction on that spectrum.
On that spectrum, absolutely.
I would much rather have it be that the bleeds do less. They don't do as much damage, but if your chest or your thorax bleeds to 0, you die. I'm sorry, your chest or your head. Like, I'd be fine with that, so that it's like it's less likely that anything is going to get blacked out. But when it does, it's like a middle ground between like it's fixable in those other cases, and you're going to be fixing it less. But these other 2 cases are what you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly, and that's it. I am torn between absolutely loving the feature, loving what the feature could do for like the broader vision of what I want Tarkov to be, but it absolutely hurting the experience of what Tarkov is now, and not having any way to counter or fix it. I'm really stuck in the middle because and I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if it's allowing me to fix the thorax and the head. That's an interesting idea where the bleeds do less, or maybe you bleed more in your limbs, or maybe if you catch a bleed in your leg is the only thing that bleeds until the leg is blacked out, and then you start losing health from other
interesting.
Like anything that, you know, we talked about how they could optimize the health system where I could set a priority where thorax and head are just always priority number 1, because then even with the system like it is right now, I could minimize the amount of times my thorax and head are blacked. I just think, I mean, I don't, either needing to make the thorax and head getting blacked out incredibly rare, or giving me the ability to CMS them, one of those 2 things feels like it has to happen. Because if you want me in a raid for 45 minutes, or if it goes open world and you want me in a raid for 3 hours, that has to be something that's either fixable or incredibly rare, because it's an instant downer. 1 damage from barbed wire and I'm dead. Like, I can't stay in the other 2.5 hours of this raid like that. Like, it's just...
The interesting thing is that like the surgery kits them, like people would say, oh, well, heal your thorax and heal your head. Like, that's realistic. But then again, like the surgery kit itself isn't realistic.
Dude, 15 surgeries on the same leg.
Yeah, we've already gone past that point. So for gameplay purposes, I don't know. I would be fine, I think, if you could do it. If you could heal those zones, or, you know, again, there's a number of different ways to tackle it. I've never thought about having the bleed be like zoned off.
Yeah.
Because that's actually really interesting, because it's rare that you're going to get a bleed on your head.
That rarely happens.
And not die, right? Because you have such little HP there.
Yes.
So,
and it provides it actually, I'm actually starting to like this idea, because it provides you with a window to make a tactical decision. I have a heavy bleed. Where is it? My leg. I can CMS that. I'm gonna push this guy. I have a heavy bleed. Where is it? My thorax. See you later. Like, you know what I mean? It goes back to the whole tactical decision making. Like you were saying, the fairness, the balance of skill. Do I have time to eliminate this threat? Do I not? I'm gonna push. I'm gonna hold off.
The other side of it too is you were talking about like leaving the raid. It's another thing to keep in mind, where the frustrating part is that like if I kill 1 or 2 guys, I have in my fucking gamma container all these meds that, you know, like so I'm swapping stuff out. So all these meds either don't get, most of the time I die without using them because I've swapped out shit like loot. So it's just that much more time I have to spend. With this toolkit of things, where if there was like a 1-click re-raid get in there system or open world, dude, this is another reason why there's so many interesting things that I'm finding that the open world idea that we talked about, it addresses so many of the annoying bullshit things. In that, like, if you die and you're back at your stash, you now have like your heart is still racing because you're still involved, because you can still get geared up and go back in.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like grab all my shit and get going. Or if, you know, if they had more quality of life stuff around getting geared and being able to get in quickly, that would also make it less bad of a feature.
For sure.
So there's so many different possible ways of addressing it, and I think they're all valid, and they should all, you know, they should all be considered. Yeah, don't just fucking read and say this feature sucks, it's bad.
Exactly. That's why I've been so torn. Like it's weird to be so in love and so hate like a feature at the same time. And that's where I was like, oh man, it's a struggle for me. Now, what I didn't really realize, as soon as we got into the patch, I bought a bunch of the hemostatic things, because you can fix more than one heavy bleed.
They fuck you up. Your hydration.
Wait, do they really?
Instantly
I didn't even read
zero.
the thing. The hemostatic syringes?
The purple ones?
No.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about the Jessekazam.
Those mess you up.
I started using that, and now it's like, okay, cool. Like, I just got in a fight.
You have 10.
Let me use it as a preventative measure, and then 2 seconds later, someone's like, hydration, dude. I'm like, what? It was just an 85.
Yeah.
Like, what, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So that could be addressed, which we can talk about that. But I instantly started grabbing the hemostatic syringes, the 3 out of 3 from Therapist, and I just put one in my Gamma because it made sense to me, right? This has 3 uses. Put it in the Gamma so you don't die. I didn't realize how cheap they were. They're like 3,000 rubles.
I've never even bought one.
Therapist.
2,776.
How much is the tourniquet?
1,200 rubles.
So I think what I'm going to start doing is running those on my hotbar.
It's totally fine to die.
Yeah, they're so inexpensive that like running it on my hotbar frees up my space in my Kappa that I lost, or my Gamma or whatever. And then it might feel a little bit better if I can get, because that's been part of why I've been getting so many blacked out thoraxes and chests, because I have to get to a place safe enough to tab into my inventory, scroll down to my Kappa, right click on the hemostatic thing, and then click use. And you're dead at that point. So maybe I didn't realize how cheap they were.
But now it's like getting into the raids was gotta build a gun, gotta get a helmet, contacts, gotta get the armor, gotta get the mags, gotta buy the ammo, gotta fill the mags, gotta make sure you have all the meds, gotta make sure they're all hotkeyed, and now it's 17 other new meds. The problem comes in when you go to buy the thing, you just died 5 times in a row, and there's only 5 per trader thing for the next 3 hours, so now you can't buy it. So it's just like the frustration of like, like the trader limits and everything. It's just so it's just so frustrating. Like that's another thing, like they need to revisit that, because all it's doing is just hurting the rest of the gameplay, especially because you can't resell trader shit. So they need to remove the whole concept of like limits. Like personal limits.
I totally agree that like we are definitely reaching a critical mass where like almost every new mechanic they add to the game that serves a positive purpose in a raid makes the out of raid experience even more negative. And that's not a good place you want to be, where every good thing you add to the game also makes a part of the game worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's just, we're like reaching that critical mass where like in my opinion, I think in your opinion as well, that experience, that from death screen to countdown, everything in between those things just needs to be addressed relatively soon, because it's hard mentally to like die again and again and have to go buy.
It's a hardcore game. You're not even allowed to enjoy your downtime.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Every time you go to hit the purchase item button, it moves slightly. There's always a 50% chance that it just sorry. Sorry.
So, and I who knows? I mean, we haven't heard from Nikita, but I get what you're saying. I think in raid, I want to love the heavy bleed thing. I just don't. I don't know. But I'm still excited about, because in theory, I love the heavy bleeding. In theory, it's all pushing towards the Tarkov that I want, but it's it's just
it's a good feature, but again, just as succinctly as possible, previous and existing bugs and user experience issues ruin the feature and make it hard to enjoy. You know,
that's a good way to put it.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So we got a few other guns. Have you messed around with the RFB yet, or the Colt?
Yeah, the RFB. I haven't messed around with the Colt.
Yeah, it's just a pistol. It's
I
just
probably
45 pistol.
won't. The RFB, until I'm sure that like in the future they're gonna add like 17 more parts for it, but right now there's like no way to get it to where ergonomically it feels good.
Yeah. And you
It's
can't put a flashlight on it.
The one time I used it, I actually survived. That was the first heavy bleed thing where on Shoreline I won a bunch of like 1v1, 3 separate ones, and sniped the dude with it. It was great, but it was like someone's peeking me around the corner, hey, and gotta lift it up, and it was like, you know, and then someone's like, oh, it's, you know, you should try it with the fucking this scope and this scope. I'm like, I would if it didn't take 17 years to bring up. So I kind of wish it was a little bit more ergonomic. You already have the downside of having it be, it's like objectively, which I think is okay, but it's like objectively worse than a lot of the other guns. Some of them more expensive, some of them more expensive, whatever. But it's like, I don't know.
I think I completely agree. I think, well, the ergonomic thing I hadn't really considered, but I think I was underwhelmed by it, but that doesn't even necessarily isn't a bad thing. We are underwhelmed by it late wipe. Like, it's cheap. It is a very cheap, basically ready to go 308 semi-auto. It's like 500 USD or something like that. So it's like 50 or 60,000 rubles. So as far as buying something from a trader, actually, I don't know how much an M1A is, but anyways.
I never, the thing is that like I never buy guns. I don't like the only guns
either.
I ever buy are Mosins.
Yeah.
You know, and then otherwise I'm usually modifying the things I take out with me.
Yeah.
So it being 50,000, like, that's not cheap enough for me to fucking ever care. Unless it's like the MDR, and it's like a lot of the other guns that are like, it's cool to have the variety.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why, other than for preference, I would use it, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It's just one of those things. Like, I think that they could make it so that all these different options have something going for them.
Yeah.
That isn't just, well, it's not as good as anything else, but it's cheap.
I get what you're saying.
The same thing happens. Like, they just introduced one of the new foregrips, and it's like, it's just +1 ergo and +1 recoil better, or -1 recoil better than everything else. It's like typical Hearthstone power creep. How are we going to get people to use this new thing? Oh, just make it better than everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's cheaper than all the other things that it's better than, so why would it's the PKO6 all over again?
Yeah.
Make the other things fucking better. Make there be more than just 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions.
Yes.
There's ergonomics, there's recoil, and there's price.
Yeah.
And there's only so many variants you can get of those 3 combinations of like, this gets an A, this gets a B, this gets an F, this gets a C, a C, a C. Like,
yeah. I get what you're saying. But yeah, so it was one of those things where it's like, I used it. I'm probably not going to use it very often. I might use it if I find one early wipe because I can shoot 308. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the new guns, exactly. All 3 of the new guns, it's like, okay, new guns, cool. Like, I know those guys work really hard. The animations are great. The guns look and feel dope. And that's always a good thing. So,
do you know the lead animator is Kiba?
Oh, I didn't know that was his name, but I knew that Kiba was named after one of the BSG employees.
It's like it's his nickname, so it's like, you know, I forget exactly what his first name is, Nikolai or whatever. Then Kiba, and then his last name. But I was doing research because another one of the videos that I've been secretly working on is like the history of Tarkov, going back to the beginning and charting everything. So that's a long-term project I'm working on.
Gonna be
But I went back to an old video, and they're like, apparently he was on the street, not on the street, but like he just walked in off the street with no experience whatsoever and answered a job rec for like an animator, and he's like, never done it before, and he learned everything, and it's like, that's insane, and he's like one of the best in the fucking business.
I was about to say, the animations specifically are something that I think sets Tarkov apart. Like that, like that's insane. Major props. It's funny because like imagine if they don't have that one random dude walking off the street apply for the job, like the game might not be where it is. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. So I thought that was really cool. He definitely deserves I think more credit than he gets. So every time you go shopping at Kiba, you know, you should know that it's named after the guy that made everything look so sexy. Also, I heard Kiba was buffed.
like I saw a tweet that said Kiba was. I probably shouldn't say anything because now everybody listening is gonna go there.
Well, I heard the same thing, and then we went to Kiba and found garbage. But one time isn't enough, right? There's always the RNG that you're gonna get a bad run. So, but I've only been in it one time since 12.8. So that's what I've heard, though. I've heard that it's been buffed.
We'll see. I haven't been interchanging in literally like 2 months.
Every time you go Kiba, hit L and look at that sweet animation of your gun, and then think of Kiba.
Oh, that's like a fucking salute.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to do that.
Just hit L every time.
That.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hit L and then double tap Y and give the wave to the guy and then leave.
Oh, the thumbs up.
But cool. I mean, I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, 12.8. You know, we're just getting into it, but it's got some. We knew what we were gonna get, right? It's nothing crazy. I'm excited for some of the stuff that's coming. I
got my guitar pick, and that's all.
Oh yeah, dude, I have one at the top row in the middle of my stash, and it's never moving.
I always have like one or two open slots that like I can never. I don't need another key bar, but I end up buying a key bar just to
put it in there. Yeah.
And now I've got my guitar pick, and it's.
I found one.
It was funny. I could probably sell it for like 50 million as like the first Veritas guitar pick that Veritas found in Raid. Probably put it on the flea market, make some money from it.
I was so glad I found one in Raid and I didn't like just buy it off. Like I didn't want to buy it. I wanted to find it, and I found it on a scav that I killed, and I was like, I was so excited.
I didn't even search for it on the flea market. I didn't want to see it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't want to see it, and I literally, I don't know if you saw the clip of it, but I did a few raids on reserve, didn't find it, and then it was on Shoreline, and I'm like, you know what? I bet you could probably find it in 310. Went up to 310, nothing in 310 except tiny little guitar pick sitting on the table. I was like,
that's incredible.
And I said it like 53 seconds before. I was like on the second floor at the other end.
I could find this in 310.
It could fit in the clip, the 1 minute clip, you know? So I was like, yes!
That's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. The Woods expansion is not here yet, but they said in 12.8.x. So soon, TM.
Oh, I tried to just see what 50 million. I could sell a guitar pick for 50 million on the flea market. The fee would only be 152 million. Have you ever wanted to net minus $102 million from a sale?
That sounds like a good deal. That sounds like that math works.
We understand the free market. Yes,
you want to pay 50 million?
We're not communists. We are free market people. There's clearly not demand if nobody wants to take $1 million ruble loss. Hey, dude,
that's incredible. That's incredible.
Oh well.
All right. Well, yeah, good stuff. 12.8, good raids. Thank you guys for hanging with us. If you're new here, we do this weekly. It's a weekly show. The audio will be on Spotify and all of the audio podcast platforms early in the week. If I don't forget to send Veritas the audio, which often happens.
I was just gonna say it. I decided not to. It'll be up as soon as he sends me the MP3.
The video will be on my YouTube channel on Monday. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us, and we'll catch you all on the next one.
Peace.